Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us today, and welcome to our first Jewellery webinar series in topic Color is Matter, New Color Stone Standard, Rapid Eye Red Ruby. My name is Thanong, the moderator of today's webinar. Before we start, let me explain a little bit about Q&A session. If anyone have questions while speakers speaking, please type your question in Q&A box. And for those who are in Facebook Live, please type your questions in the comment box. If time allows, we will go through all the questions after the presentations. Otherwise, we will follow up all the questions by email after the webinar. Lastly, if you are experiencing any technical problems, please type in Q&A box to let us help. Today, we are honored to have Mr. Thanong Leelawatanasuk as our speaker, who expertise and play an important role in jewelry industry by acknowledging and sharing his 20-year experience through many researches and publications. Now, let's welcome Mr. Thanong Leelawatanasuk to the webinar. Good afternoon, Khun Thanong, and welcome.
Good afternoon, Puntara.
Good afternoon, could you please introduce yourself a little bit?
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Thanong Leelawatanasuk, as a Deputy Director of GIT. Welcome, yes, everyone.
Thank you for the short brief. I believe now it's time that everyone is waiting for. I'll hand it over to our speaker. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, good afternoon, everyone, once again. First of all, I would like to thank Informa Markets for inviting me to be a speaker for their first jewelry webinar session. The topic today is the color is matter, new color stone standard, Rabbit Eye Red Rubies. So before I go in detail, I would like to take this opportunity to introduce a little bit about GIT. GIT is from the Gem and Jewellery Institute of Thailand. We are the national organization to support gem and jewelry industry. We are under the supervision of the Ministry of Commerce of Thailand. We have 5 main missions. Accordingly, first one, we have to provide the standard testing service for gems, jewelry, and also precious metal. Secondly, we have to conduct research and develop gem and jewelry in full scale. Thirdly, we also have to provide the trainings for develop the quality of the personnel who work in this industry. And also we have to prepare in-depth database for gem and jewelry people for their in-depth information to develop their business. And also we are the center to coordinate between the government sector and the private sector for domestically and also internationally in order to upgrade the Thai gem and jewelry business. Okay, so next one. Ruby, I think everybody know this term very well. Ruby is one of the most famous gemstones of all time. This is when we're talking about color stone, ruby is always the number one in the list in the mind of everybody. As you see in the slides, most of the famous gemstone, color stone, most of them, they are ruby. For example, like Alan Kaplan's ruby is 115.97 carat from Burma, or Rosary style ruby. This is the largest style ruby that has been found in Sri Lanka, and also the Hope ruby ring, 32.94 for Burmese ruby. This is for such an example. So ruby has been reported trade for more than 2,000 years. In the trade route of the ancient Silk Road, from that connect the east to the west, from China to India to Persia, to Arabia, and to Europe. So for Asia people, we believe that the ruby is come from a drop of the heart blood of Mother Earth. In India, normally ruby has been referred to the very high esteemed gemstone. So they use ruby to decorate in many things, such as the armor, the scabbard, and the harness of noblemen. And also in Sanskrit language, they call ruby as a Ratana Raj. So it means king of gemstone. Ratana is mean gemstone, Raj is mean king. So let me give a brief introduction a little bit in terms of scientifically of the ruby. Ruby actually is a red variety of minerals called corundum, which is composed mainly of alumina oxides. The hardness of corundum or ruby is 9 according to Mohs scale, just a second to diamonds, which is 10. The red color of ruby is due to the presence of chromium tracement. Because of pure corundum is colorless. The name is come from the Latin term rubus, it's referred to red. So besides of ruby, corundum can come with many different color and varieties such as pink, purple, colorless, blue, green, yellow, and pinkish orange, so-called papyrusha. Ruby in particular, when we considering the source of ruby, you will see that there are very limited source that produce ruby worldwide. And the symbol of the location symbol represent the major sources, and the red dot symbol represent the minor sources. You will see that for the major sources is mainly in East Africa, such as the Madagascar, Mozambique, Tanzania, and Kenya. And also in Asia, we do have the Myanmar as a major source, and also with Vietnam. Thailand used to be the source, as I mentioned. And also in the Central Asia, such as Afghanistan, Tajikistan, or Pakistan, they have report several areas that produce ruby. And also in India, they also have some source ruby. And lately is the ruby from Greenland is also have the production. I would like to show you some image of the mining. This is the image that whoever who used to travel to Mokok have to take a photo of this thing. This is in the viewing point of Mokok. Yes, welcome to Ruby Land, because Mokok has been known for more than 800 years as the source of 5 rubies. Mokok is situated is located in the northern part of Myanmar, in the territory of the Mandalay, and this is the mining process in that area. In Mokok, they have both primary deposits and also secondary deposits, so we can find the mining of both sides. Thailand. The ruby produced from Thailand, we usually refer it as Siamese ruby. In Thailand, actually we have the ruby deposit in the eastern province called Trat. So actually some of the area also extend to Cambodia. So normally we can call the ruby from this region, this area as Thai Cambodia ruby. But in the trade, we usually call it Siamese ruby because most of the ruby has been processed in Thailand, in Chanthaburi areas. Vietnam also have the long history of the ruby deposits. The ruby deposit in Vietnam, located in the northern part of the country in the area called Luc Yen, in the Nubian, there used to be a very active source of ruby, but nowadays the production is a little bit slow, but they still have production of ruby from these countries. Afghanistan and Tajikistan is actually they are situated in the same Himalayan mountain range. So the ruby that produced from this deposits is quite rare because of the nature of the mining there is in the very high altitude area, and most of the mining they have to dig into the host rocks. So there are very little production that come out from this area. In Tanzania, Tanzania used to be the well-known of the ruby producing since they have the deposit in Longido to produce the carving material called ruby soisai. And also this same area, just recently they have the production of the gem quality one that already sell in the market. However, for the most important producing country of ruby is the Mozambique, because the Mozambique has very big area of the ruby deposits, and the mining process there is well controlled by the company called Gemfields, who is one of the pioneer of the doing the business model from mine to market. And I can say that most of the ruby nowadays come from these countries. So when we're talking about the value factors of rubies, so we can considering that the value of ruby is a combination of 3 different factors. The first factor is we call it subjective factor, is beauty of ruby. The second and the third is natural value and quality. This is the quantitative value. So we can use some scientific method to evaluate them. So as you might heard this phrase before, the beauty is on the eye of the beholder. That is referred to judge the beauty is not easy, it's very subjective. But when we generally talking about the beauty of ruby, they are basically considering 3 main factors. First, we have to think about the color. The color is attractive enough or not, and the brilliancy is high or not high, and also the transparency. Because when we considering 3 factors in combination, in general, this is the thing that we try to explain the beauties of the gemstone as well. For the natural values, it's about the authenticity, because of the ruby. It's not just only natural or synthetic. We also have a lot of the other gemstone that can imitate the rubies. This is one of the important factors for the value, and also the treatment type. Due to the ruby have many different types of treatments, such as the just a heat treatment, or graphite, or diffusion. And also lately is the country of origin. This is quite special for many of the important precious stones, such as ruby and sapphire, and also emeralds. The origin is still play a really important role in the price. For the quality of ruby, when we want to quantify it, actually we can simply based on the 4C factor as we use for diamond. First one is the color, clarity, cut, and its carat weight. Because the price is usually vary based on these 4 factors. However, why the colors matter? Because of in the structure of the value of the ruby, the color is considering the most important component of its values. So since the GIT has been established in 1999, we think that as Thailand is the major source of the corundum gems such as ruby and sapphire, so we have decided to conduct many research on the color communication system and the color grading system of corundum. So since the year 2000 to 2009, we keep doing research on this topic, and finally we can create the original master set of I can say that is almost every color of corundum. And why it takes quite long for produce this type of set? Because of the set that we have is consists of natural stone only, because we don't use the synthetic stone, because for synthetic stone they cannot create such a wide variety of color as we see in nature. So that's why in our research we focus to have only natural stone. So when we research further into the rubies, so this is the set of ruby. I can explain you that the set is actually divided in terms of hue and tone and also saturation. And we also giving the name in terms of the general term of the color without any specific color trait terms, because this is for the scientific use. Anyway, we also modify that set to become we call it like the comprehensive set of color, consists of major color range that are available in the market. So we separate into 8 simple names, such as dark red, deep red, dark red, deep red, vivid red, strong red, pinkish red, and purplish red accordingly. Anyway, when we want to develop the definition of the term pigeon blood, because at that time pigeon blood is become more popular in the market. But when we research and study the definition of pigeon blood, this is very subjective, because they have no any clear definition. They just refer to this is the fine color, this is the best color of the ruby that mainly from Myanmar areas. So anyway, what we did, okay, we use this set and we pass to the expert from around the world. The expert consists of the trader, dealers, and also gemologists from renowned laboratories. So we just ask them that which area in this box that you can accept to call pigeon blood. So from the many of the surveys, the result, we combine and we adjust that most of the common area of the pigeon blood is in the red dash box. So as a result of our research, we decide that we will use this range of color as a reference color for pigeon blood. But anyway, this is the point that many of the people might not understand, because of the pigeon blood is not refer only the colors. There are other criteria that we have to take into account when we qualify the stone for pigeon blood. This is our criteria. We define that the ruby to call pigeon blood have to be the fastest stone, and the color must be fall in the acceptable range against our master stone set, and the grading condition must be controlled. We grade in the controlled lighting conditions. So the stone weight we scope to be more than half a carat stone that qualify to grade for pigeon blood. And also for the stone must be only unheated or conventionally heated stone only to qualify. And also we define that the brilliancy area have to be at least 20% from the fed up overall. Okay, this is like the general criteria that we use. But however, the other institute or other lab or other trade maybe use different terms and different limitations of to qualify the ruby for pigeon blood. But okay, so in last several years, we feel that the gemstone market has been shift. There are one trend that emerging very quick in the market. Like this trend is we call the gems for investment, and this is also the big trend in Asian market. So what is the trend? Because of the in the past decade, we have to say that when the Chinese market is growing very fast, so there's big consumer group who are looking for the color stone, and when they're looking for the ruby, actually they, as the culture of the Asian people, they need something with the good meaning. So ruby, when they want to sell in that area, so they have to come with some special names. So that's why pigeon blood has been used as the color trade term to describe the 5 quality of ruby. And when they're marketing this term, so the people are starting to have the positive view that to buy the ruby, they need the pigeon blood. So that's why the market is started to shift. The consumer behavior, I can feel that in the past 20 years as I been in the industry. In the past, when the consumer come to buy stone, actually they come into the shop, and then they take a look at the stone. They're looking for the stone that they satisfy and they're happy with, and then they deal with the price and just make the certificate just to make sure that the thing that the dealer said is correct, and then they pay. But after the pigeon blood ruby become very favorite, I commonly name this phenomena as pigeon blood ruby fevers. So what is happened that when the consumer coming into the jewelry shop, they didn't asking for the stone. They asking to see the certificate first or the report first. And if the report mention the pigeon blood, so then they ask for the stone, and then they just do the price. However, at the beginning, this trend is look positive because of they increase a lot of sale of the rubies that qualify for pigeon blood. But for long term, I think it is starting to see the consequence because of this term has been overused by many labs, and since there's still no any international standard or international agreements upon these terms or these nomenclatures. So they start to create the negative impact. We heard that the value of some certain quality of ruby fluctuates due to the inconsistency of the gem of the lab results. Because of one lab give pigeon blood, another lab don't give pigeon blood. The consumer still looking for the ruby with specific quality because they have the perception that they bought the ruby for investment. And what is the big problem is the ruby of other color and qualities that cannot be sold in the market. So this is the most important point that we got the request from the market, from the trade side to help. So what is our solution? We have been discussed with many people, even in the trade or in the lab, about this thing, and we come up with the solution that the first, we will keep the strict criteria for pigeon blood. We don't want to make any more confusion because the term pigeon blood has been have the problem enough in the market. So to create, so that's why we think about we have to create some new color standard to fulfill the market gap. Because as I mentioned that the most important problem in the market that the ruby with no color trade names, it's very difficult to marketing. And the most important as GIT is the National Institute. So we try to think about, we will create something that linked to the Thai ruby industry. At this point, we started to think about the proper names for this new standard. We discussed with the people in the trade that where is the area of the color that most problem. So we can define where is the range of the color that we need to support. And then when we think about the name that to make it linked with Thai ruby industry, so we think of Chantaburi, because of Chantaburi actually is the ruby processing center of the world. I can say that more than 70 to 80% of the raw ruby have been passed to this area before distribute to the market. And why rabbit? Because the rabbit in the full moon glow is a symbol of this province. So that's why we come up with the area to use the rabbit. And when we find out more about the meaning of the rabbit also in many cultures is related with the good fortune, and it is also the symbol of peace and tranquility in many religions. And also in China and Japan, especially the rabbit is a symbol that represents love and happiness. So most of the meaning that we can find out is always in the good meaning when we refer to rabbit. Okay, so to celebrate the Chantaburi at the City of Gems, and we would like to show the respect to the wisdom of the people in Canterbury for their great ability in ruby enhancement and their very exceptional craftsmanship skill in sorting and cutting rubies. And actually, I can say that without people from Canterbury, there should have be the ruby industry as we see today. So for the color, when we got the name, we tried to define the color. The color of the rabbit eyes, we designed it as the pinky red colors range of ruby. However, we will still strict the criteria for the fastest gem quality, natural ruby only. And this standard is regardless of origin, same as our pigeon blood. And other criteria, we also comply with the grading criteria for Pigeon blood as we use for decades. So in comparison, if you see in the dash box is the area, the country area of Pigeon blood, and in the pink box is the area of color of rabbit eyes. To grade the color, as I mentioned, that we use the same method that we use for other color like pigeon blood. The color grading must be conducted in the very controlled condition, such as we have to use the standard light source. In this case, we use the daylight equivalent light of 5,000 Kelvin. Normally, we can call it D50 lamp. And the grading environment, we have to use the neutral background, such as the environment that we use in the standard gem box. This color grade has been officially launched in December 2019 in according with the International Canterbury Gem and Jewellery Festival in last December. And after we launched this color grade, so we got very positive feedback from many markets, such as China, such as Japan. So anyway, we also conduct another gems festival in Canterbury once again in this December on 18th to 22nd of December. If you are available or you are in Thailand, so please find further information with us. You can check in our Facebook or our website to further information. So the last but not least, GIT also published the several articles regarding our development on the color standard in in color magazines that is belong to the ICA, and also just recently we just published another article in the Italian Gemological Review, that is the famous journal in Europe. And also we do some PR in many gem show already, especially in the International Japan Jewelry Show, and also in Hong Kong, and also in Bangkok Chef. Okay, so thank you very much for everyone for your attention for my webinars. And so now I think we can go to the question and answer sessions. Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you very much, Mr. Thanong. That's very interesting and useful content. Now it's time for Q&A session. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask your question in the Q&A box and in YouTube live comment. While waiting for the questions, I would like to bring your attention to our webinar survey content. Now it's time for Q&A. Sorry. Yes. I would like to bring attention to our webinar survey. It will pop up to your screen after the webinar is finished. And we will also send the survey to your email to those who don't have time to do it today. Please take your time. Your feedback is very important for our enhancement. Right now, we have received some questions from the audience already. Let's start with the first question. Why does rabbit eyes highly in demand?
Okay, so thank you for the questions. Why the rabbit eye is highly in demand? Because of actually, I can say frankly, is not yet in demand because of we just launched the official announcement in last December. But this is just the feedback of the trade side. And when we show the set, and when we ask them that how you feeling with this new standard, and we got very good feedback that this kind of new standard can help them to sell more of the ruby that still don't have proper trade names. I think this one, this color standard should be like alternative marketing tools for the market after the pandemic. I think when the market starting to recover, I think it's very important for the market to have something new that you can boost up your sale and your business.
I see. Thank you. And for the next questions, could you please suggest the best material that match the rubbedized ruby?
Okay, for the rubbedized, the color actually is the pinkish red. So in my opinion, I think they can match with many different type of metal, such as the gold, or even for and white gold or platinum. They all match.
Okay. So this is from YouTube Live. At rubbedized is the new color stone standard. Can you tell how much the price different from pigeon blood?
Okay, so for this point, it's quite difficult to tell because of actually when we're talking about pigeon blood is considering the best in terms of color of the rubies. And if in comparison, I can say that we didn't expect that the ruby that qualify for rubbedized can sell in the higher price than the pigeon blood. But in terms of the market, I think to have more than one color is better than have only one color term.
And then which mines could probably have this color distinction?
For this question, I have to, I would like to explain a little bit about the nature of the mining. In the mining area, I can say that you can find the ruby of all qualities in terms of color and other qualities such as transparencies. And but according to the current situation, the Mozambique should be the number one mining that produce the 5 quality rubies in the market. But and also beside of the red color, they have a lot of the pinkish red color come out, and we hope that this new color standard can help them to sell this quality of rubies.
How long do you expect rubbedized to be well known in jewelry industry?
According to our plan, we will promote this new standard in almost every gem shows, and also we will give a talk on this topic as much as we can, or as much as and also if anyone want to see the real stone, we are very welcome. You can contact us and we can show you which area that we call the rubbedized, because it's much more easier for the trader or the consumer to understand when you see the real stone.
When do you plan to introduce this grading standard? Is this only for pinkish red, or does pink red color also qualify under rubbedized?
Yes, because of the intention to create this new standard, we just want to fulfill the gap, because there are the big gap of the ruby with pinky tinge, pinky red or red pink that have the problem to not able to sell because they don't have the proper trade terms. So that is why we try to create the new color standard that not overlap with pigeon blood, because as I mentioned in my previous presentation that we want to keep pigeon blood rare.
Okay. Is there any possibility that if ruby has been certified, pigeon blood can turn out to be rabbit eye in retesting?
Okay, for our standard is very it's very rare situation, because according to our standard we have the very clear cut criteria that we put the name for rabbit eye or put the name of pigeon blood. But if you have the report from other lab, it's for sure, because since pigeon blood still don't have any consensus agreement on the range of color that might happen.
Okay. How is the response from customer from this color grade rabbit eye?
I think in terms of the customer, I think they are quite happy with this new color terms. So they because of when we create this new colors names, we also thinking that we want to have the name that in the future when people trace back on the story of this name, I want to have the name that have the story behind, because when we look at the pigeon blood, they have a lot of story behind this name. We can trace back into the Myanmar, that's the origin of these colors. But for rabbit eye, we want the people in the future that when we trace back, they can refer to the Thailand and the Thai people in Chantaburi, who is actually the backbone of this industry.
Thank you. Is this only Burmese ruby stone are eligible for PB and not the Mozambique rubies?
According to our standard, we are not take the origin into account. And as we see, most of the pigeon blood are from Myanmar, but anyway, we still have the 5 color of other sources can also qualify for the pigeon blood.
Do you expect a price difference between pigeon bust and rabbit eyes ruby?
Of course, the price must be different.
Okay. Will other labs also use this standard? What has GIT done in order to make this a worldwide acceptance standard, apart from publishing in Italian and international magazines?
Okay, for this point, I think it is our further step, because actually for GIT as the National Institute, we also conduct the national standard for gem testing and also precious metal testing. And also in terms of the condom, we plan also want to put our research result into the standard. So at that point, anyone can follow, but anyway, it's still on the voluntary basis.
Can other labs access your data to issue report with rabbit eyes reports?
So at this point, I think we are not yet at that stage.
Why Mozambique rubies are guest PB when actually it's only Burmese Mogok ruby are the actual pigeon bush rubies?
I think this is quite one of the confusion in the market, because of when we are talking the term pigeon blood, according to our standard, is mainly is about the range of the color. So if you want to grade the stone must pass the, like we call, like the basic qualification first, such as the stone must be natural, the stone must be just conventional heat treatment or unheat treatment. The other related qualities such as clarity and brilliancy have to be qualified as well. And then we go into grade for the color. But in our standard, as I mentioned, is we are not including origins as the part of the qualification. But anyway, in other labs, in some lab, I know that they still including the origin that they want to give the pigeon black only for the permits to be only. So this is still needs some more discussion among the people in the gemological communities. But actually, I can say for this point it has been discussed many times in the international level, such as in the CIPJO Congress, in the ICA Congress. We discussed quite a lot, but anyway, in the way to find the consensus agreement, they still have many more discussion have to be taken.
What about the deep colored rubies, which have been certified PB by some labs? That color also should have a different name, such as Royal Red used by Rotat Lab.
Okay, for this point, as I mentioned, it depends on the lab. They still don't have any regulation or any rules to say that the lab should do this or should not do that. It still depends because it is one of the difficulty, actually.
So this is from YouTube again. If I'm very beginner in jewelry industry, do you think I can recognize the rubidize color before sending it to the lab test?
I think for the rubidize, you can recognize it's not difficult. You can say that because in general, the rubidize refer to the red with pinkish tint. So if you feel that your stone have some pinkish tint, so you can you can think that it might be the rubidize, but actually, if you want to compare, you should send to the lab because, as I mentioned, to compare the color, we have to done under controlled development.
So if the lab already implementing rubidize into the certificate now, if a ring is in yellow setting, will the grading for the color be screwed to rubidize when I send it to lab? Whereas without the setting, it could be a Parisian bud.
Okay, for this case, I think we have to discuss on the case by case basis. I cannot say that because of when we grade the stone and under the specific lighting condition. So this is quite a rare case that we found that when the stone come in the setting, we give one grade, and when they take out, they give another grade.
Actually, there are still some more questions, but unfortunately, we do not have enough more time for Q&A right now. We'll be sure to follow up each of them after the webinar. Finally, I would like to thank you, Mr. Thanong, again for joining us and provide very interesting information to us. And special thanks to the Gem and Jewellery Institute of Thailand public organization for supporting this webinar, which could not happen without them. So thank you very much, Ka.
Thank you very much. สวัสดีครับ
And lastly, thank you all for joining our webinar today. We hope that the content we presented today would be useful for you. We will have Jewellery webinar series number 2 in topic unusual shifting cultural and social perceptions of jewelry on 15 October 2020. Please scan this QR code to get more information and pre-registration link in our Facebook page. Besides, please don't forget to like and subscribe our Facebook page to get updated news. To rewatch today's webinars, we will leave the webinar video on our YouTube and Facebook channel. Sorry for that. And thank you. See you all again on our next webinar series. Thank you.